I'm Julie Johnson Roberts, CEO and co-founder of Armored Things. Armored Things is a crowd intelligence company, which means we specialize in people and flow and understanding people's behavior to keep them safe. So I come from a very non-traditional background for a tech company founder. I actually started my career on the trading floor at Lehman Brothers in the summer of 2008 before getting into venture capital. And it was in venture capital that I really got the bug to be an operator. And it just so happened that some of the research I was doing around security and Internet of Things became very relevant to the company that we run today. So we spend our time looking at patterns of behavior and seeing how that can show security threats like bottlenecks or unusual crowd movement or after-hours anomalies. But we also have the benefit of understanding trends in an environment, understanding those flows of people. We're harnessing all the data that exists already in these environments. So we come in and we pull data anonymously out of Wi-Fi systems, camera systems, anything else that exists, and we try and correlate that with events that we know are going on and behaviors of those spaces. And that is unique. Lots of companies that are working on people and understanding people do come in with a sensor, and that changes the business model tremendously. We have such a massive opportunity and such a chance to make a difference in the world. And every day, it's a question of prioritizing what's the most likely opportunity for me to move this business forward today. That's a pretty long list of things that I could potentially do, but it certainly is motivating, and there's never a dull day. I like to coach the team. I like to work with the team. I never ask the team to do anything that I wouldn't do myself, but I do think that it's my responsibility to also set the pace and push people and make sure that we're all moving in the same direction, but also pushing the boundaries of what we might otherwise be able to accomplish. How I knew that I was a founder was at one of the first bumps in the road. There are many natural turning points where you say, do I have the personal fortitude to keep plowing forward on this journey? And one of those first big bumps in the road, I said, I'm not going to walk away, I'm going to double down. And it was really when I took my first major leadership roles in the company, maybe 3 months after we incorporated, and I never looked back. So oftentimes business mistakes are very black and white, almost calculable, right? Did the business decision investment have the return that we were looking for? Did it have the outcome we were expecting? If not, it's probably time to cut our losses and move on, or at least iterate on the strategy. And so I'm constantly trying to say, are people really getting the value out of this thing that I expect them to? Am I, as a leader, getting value out of this thing? And do I feel like it's reflecting the values we want it to reflect? And if not, we're an agile company, right? How do we iterate on what we're doing here and try a different approach? And if that doesn't work, try a different approach. And a lot of these things, especially organizationally, are living, breathing, dynamic structures. COVID has been a very unique challenge for a business that specializes in crowds. And we did a lot of introspection before we realized that we can actually be part of the safe reopening conversation. And so now we're working with more universities, more venues, more corporations than ever before to help them with safe reopening and provide them data to stay open. They're actually investing in solutions that can monitor whether people feel safe. So it's really helpful in this reopening conversation. Okay, there's two women that I highly respect. The first one is a woman named Ellen Ochoa. She was the first Hispanic woman to go into space, and she later directed Johnson Space Center and was involved in some of the big recovery disasters, over the last 20 years, including the Columbia disaster where she was on mission control. So I'd really like to talk to her about crisis leadership, which turns out to be something that's really uniquely valuable in a time of crisis or an unusual market event like COVID. The other one is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I just think that she is someone who I admire tremendously for how she carried herself and how she portrayed her views. So whether or not you agree with her views, uh, her tendency to eloquently express a position without anger or emotion, I think is something that a lot of leaders could emulate because it makes her point so poignant and effective, getting to the core piece of the narrative without shutting down, conversation or debate, which is really a skill that's, I think, hard to build. So I once had the opportunity to hear Jack Welch speak. It was really neat to hear him talk. And he said at the time, there's no such thing as work-life balance. There's work-life choices, and choices have consequences. Because when you take certain professional roles, you're really saying, I'm going to swing my work-life balance one way or another. And I think you have to consider, where your lever points are, how much of that can you take, because certain roles do come with different levels of inflection. So, it's important to me that I'm always balancing, my personal relationships and my work life, but I wouldn't say that they're always balanced. I think these things ebb and flow. There's a lot of times where the company needs tons of attention, and then there's other times where the team is really self-sufficient. They don't necessarily need me as hands-on, and I need to recognize that. And I need to take advantage of that from a personal perspective to use those times to invest in my mental health so that I'm there for the team in the times of challenges. 100% early bird. Coffee. Always coffee. Chocolate covered pretzels. It's an Achilles heel. Calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it does not happen. Like Fleetwood Mac or Simon and Garfunkel, some of the classics. Usually something mindless like watching HGTV or going for a walk. 2 weeks after Glasswing invested in Armored Things, and I remember getting up on stage and telling the story of our mission and working to inspire people to really feel excited about this new investment for Glasswing. And I remember thinking to myself, well, I know the Glasswing team likes us. What a great partnership. And, coming down from that talk and talking to so many people in the audience who already knew about us and said, man, it was great to hear more. It was so exciting to hear about the mission. And it really showed me how much the family was connected, right? And how much people had already talked about Armored Things. And just because we had just been invested in didn't mean that people hadn't already been thinking of us as part of that community.